Car flipping ain't easy. I'm going to give you some pointers and tell you how I do it, because a lot of people have the wrong impression. They think it's buy low, sell high, and screw the middleman. It's a lot more than that, and it's a lot harder than that. So let's get started. So I flipped a Mustang on this channel not too long ago, and truth be known, I flipped a few things here and there. It was never really my hobby, but I just like cars, so I just sit there and I'll buy one, I'll flip it, make a little money, but I never was out to, make a killing. A lot of guys are. A lot of guys, that's their business. And part of the problem is that with TV like Barrett Jackson and all that, it makes everybody thinks they're going to hit a home run on their way out. Nothing could be further from the truth. Furthermore, put that down. It takes a long time. These guys that make killings, they're very lucky on their first time out. Well, they're very rarely lucky their first time out. When you watch guys flipping, you're seeing the successes. You're not seeing the failures, and there's a lot of them. Now, first of all, the guys you see online that are flipping, like John Ross or Tyler Hoover or those guys, they've been doing this a long time. They know their cars, they know their engines, they know what to look for. They know if it's saying the engine shot or this or that. There's about 4 other things it could be. They take a chance, but they do one thing that a lot of guys don't. And I saw this when I was selling my Mustang. Was they know their price point, they know their budget, but they're also smart enough to know that you make your money when you buy the car. You don't make your money selling the car. If you look at it that way, you're not going to make it, because you're going to be over budget every time. Why is that? Well, let's look at the Crown Vic, and I'll show you how. Part of this was luck. Guy offered it to me really cheap. He could have got more money, but he knew I'd fix it up, and has an affection for these cars like me. So the fact of the matter was, I've got 1, 2, 3, and I've owned them before. I had another one before this. So I was actually fairly familiar with these cars, and I have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots, and in there, lots of parts. That's step 1. Be very familiar with what you want to buy. I didn't have to take a chance on this because I bought this right. The black and white one over here, I didn't buy this one right at the time. It has appreciated though, but I bought it for myself, and I really wasn't looking to make a profit with it. So I didn't mind paying the asking price. The fact of the matter with the black and white one is that I bought a car that wasn't for sale. So when you do that, if the guy shoots you a ridiculous price, that's his price, because it's not for sale and he doesn't want to sell it. But he will for this price. So usually in things like that, it's completely non-negotiable. I don't negotiate with people when it comes to buying things that aren't for sale. I made the pitch, I wanted to buy him, he gave me a price. I can't get mad on that. But with that car, I bought it right, 500 bucks. All right. So what did I have to change in it? And this is where everybody gets in trouble. On a car like this, when I bought it, I could have easily turned around, put the wheels and hubcaps on it, and flipped it and made an easy $300-400 easily, and not done a thing to it. But you want to make $300 or $400, or do you want to make $2,000 or $3,000? The reason I'm going to clean house on this is because I'm very familiar with the car. I knew where to buy the parts cheap, and I knew exactly what I needed to do to make it good. Yeah, truthfully, I could have just taken the car as is, turned around and flipped it for another 150 bucks. Anybody can do that. And in this market, in an up market right now, everybody's an expert. But the market's not going to stay up forever. So let's talk about the Mustang, and I'll tell you where I went wrong with that. But I'll tell you how I got my money out of it. So with the Mustang, it was a little different. Red made a solid deal on the car. $200. Those deals are rare. Buying a car for 200 bucks, even a junk car, I could have scrapped it for more than that, and most people know that by now. It still had the catalytic converters on it, so I could have cut them off, sold them, scrapped the rest of the car, and made about 100 bucks. That's how you get ants. And so why didn't I do that? Well, here's the thing. I saw value there. Convertibles, while they're not all that popular, there's still value there because they do come with frame stiffeners, and they were in good shape. It is popular. I mean, stuff like that's popular for race car drivers, but it had frame stiffeners in it. It had the double hump cross member, but it also, there'd been no rodents in it. And as I got looking at the car, I realized that there was a lot of good bones there. So I cleaned it up. All I did was clean the car up. I got it to turn over. We didn't show it because we didn't have the camera running. We did catch it on fire once. So that was fun. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So we looked and realized there was value there, so I cleaned it and I just listed it. The mistake I made was listing it too cheap, and we've talked about that. But had I got the car running, which would have been very easy to do, I would have increased the value of that car $400 or $500. And on top of that, had I stuck a set of tires on there, I would have gotten $3,000 for that car. Sounds stupid, but that's true. Bought the car right, put minimal money into it. But here's the thing. The more money you put in a car does not make it worth more money. That's a very common misconception. One of the common misconceptions that people make is that they think just because they stuck $1,000 into a $500 car, suddenly it's worth $1,500. Nothing could be further from the truth. Cars are only worth what the market will bear. And it doesn't matter how much you put in a car, it'll never be worth that. Like the Torino, part of why I have never really sold it or really pursued it is, as cool as they are, truthfully, they're not worth much. The car right there, I could probably get $2,500, $3,000 out of it right now. I get my money out of it. The market has gone up, but fully restored and all that, 20 maybe. So I mean, there's no point in me spending $35,000, $40,000 to restore this car that's slowly but surely hiding behind me, and to make to lose money. This is not an investment. These cars are not an investment unless you buy them right and you're flipping them immediately to someone who wants them. Don't restore a car in order to flip it unless you bought it right and do all the work yourself, because I'll tell you right now, if I take this car to a shop, have all the work done, get it running, driving and all that, and I drop $35,000 into it, which is realistically what it would take to restore it factory fresh at this point in time, I might sell it for 18 to 20. That's the sad truth. The other thing is how much time and money are you going to put into this? I remember watching, I've seen guys flip, and that usually they only show their successes, not their failures. Taylor Hoover is the exception. But guy bought a car for $300-400. I guess I shouldn't have hit that with a car. Guy bought a car for $300 or $400. It was throwing some codes, this, that, and the other thing. But the guy knew the engines, and he's like, I will lay money that this is a coil. Because the coils, I guess, are run a particular way, so if one coil goes out, it knocks the other ones out. It was something weird like that. And he went, bought a coil, figured out which one was bad, dropped it in, and boom, car fired up. Car drove flawlessly after that. Owner didn't know what it was. Owner sold it to him. He's the new owner. He turned around and flipped it. Made $500-600 the next day. But that doesn't happen every day. And this guy's been doing this long enough to know that this is how it works. And there was no guarantee that that was the problem either. But he bought the car right, so even if he had to sell it, he wasn't going to get hurt. I don't know what prompted me to want to make this video, but I felt I needed to share some of what I've learned flipping cars. Like I said, I've been doing this a long time. I've flipped a number of cars. I've lost money on a lot of them, made money on a couple of them, but I never really turned it into anything more than just a hobby. But you have to have an idea. And part of what I ran into when I was selling, like I said, selling the Mustangs, were a lot of people thinking that they could do exactly what I'm talking about. Not so much, they thought they could just make the money selling the car. But these were a lot of bottom feeders that were looking for a quick buck to flip. Or they were looking for a quick flip to make a buck. And don't be a bottom feeder. It doesn't get you anywhere. And as you saw a lot of these guys on a lot of these posts I showed on that video, these guys were just relentless. And that's why I talked about selling the car for what it was. If somebody wants to know exactly what your bottom dollar is right then and there, don't argue with them. Shoot them high and let them figure it out. Because truthfully, if anybody ever tells me you got to leave some meat on the bone, I don't have to leave you crap. I'm selling the car. I don't have to leave you crap. And that's the long and short of it. My job is not to make you money. My job is to make me money. And I ran into a lot of that with the Mustang. And truthfully, when I go to sell that Crown Vic, I'm going to price it high because I want to avoid the BS. One thing I've noticed over the years when it comes to selling cars on to people and whatnot is there's one thing that people get weird about. They get weird about tires. If you can find a good and matched set, even if they're used, if they're all completely matched and they got about 30% left on them, people buy the car for the tires. I've never understood this mentality, but they don't care how the car runs, they'll buy it because of tires. I got an old antique set of Westlakes on here, and on this car here, and I'll guarantee you, those tires will sell the car. But I'm keeping them. I'm going to look for a good set of 16s for the other rims in the trunk because I need to keep those wheels. But tires will sell the car. If you buy a good flip car with a matched set of tires that have good tread and are holding air and aren't dry rotted out, you're going to make your money. The car can run like absolute dog crap and people will still buy it for the tires. I don't understand that, but people are cheap. One of the biggest mistakes I see people making when it comes to flipping cars is they're sitting there trying to let the potential buyer dictate the terms. The buyer thinks he's playing chess, but you need to be playing poker. It's your car, you're the one dictating the terms. Don't let the buyer dictate the terms. You have an idea in mind, you have a number. Now I don't say you have to be a jerk about it. But you're playing poker. You need to let him show his hand, and you got to get him to bluff or bow out early. Your time is not to be wasted. You have plenty of other people out there with money who are willing to buy this car. And, ouch. I should have bought the Harbor Freight set. There's plenty of other people out there with money who will buy this car. It doesn't have to be him. The first deal is not the best deal. And if he's going to sit there and try to parry and thrust and sit there and, take jabs and try to, play chess with you, we ain't got time for games. This is poker. This is high stakes poker. You need to hit him. You need to hit him hard. You need to call his hand, and you need to do it early. And you need to do it on your terms. You ever play poker? That's how it works. You start bluffing, you ante up, and you get it to where you want it, to where the guys either have to meet your price or they got to bow out. That's how this game's played. Don't play chess with these guys. All they're going to do is waste your time. Just a little food for thought. Had to get the Oldsmobile back in the garage. I'm leaving here shortly. I'm at the point in my career where I've realized I need to take real time off and just enjoy myself because, well, that's important. You don't want to get burned out. So what am I getting at? Well, it's always important to remember one essential thing. People are getting rid of these cars for a reason. And most of the time the reason is crap because they want to maximize their profit. Or they just don't know what the car is worth. It's usually the former, not the latter. That's the rule and not the exception. So how do you combat that? Well, have a very good idea what you're looking at. Unless it's an engine or transmission, unless you got one laying around and you're going to flip the car, unless the car is worth flipping and the price is right, don't even screw with it. Let somebody else. Now, like I said, if the price is right and it's the right car, it might be worth it. But for the most part, they're not. Unless you have the parts laying around and you can do it in a weekend. The longer this car sits on your property not fixed, the more money it's costing you. You're like, well, I didn't tag it, I didn't insure it, it didn't... Yeah, but you got your money tied up. Get your money out of it. You know, that's why you're in this business. You're not here to let things sit. And you need to have a good idea of components and stuff like that. Because like I said earlier, you put $1,000 worth of work into a $500 car. You have a $500 car. So when is the timing right to flip cars? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, this is not a good time. You're like, well, wait a minute, everybody's making money. Well, yeah, they're making money on existing things they bought before. Everybody's an expert in an up market. But they're going to gouge everyone they can for what they got. Don't get gouged. You need to wait for the economy or the market to crash, which is fixing to do, and prices to level out before you really get into it. Because if you can make a good living in a bad economy doing this, you're going to excel in a good economy. And you'll outlast the novices and the guys who are thinking that they're an expert. It's just timing is everything, but at the same time, perspective is really important when it comes to flipping cars. Yeah, just perspective. I had a thought, but it passed. Like I said, it's a lot harder than you think, and everybody online is acting like it's this wonderful thing where they're making bank. But I'll tell you what, they're not making as much as you would think. They're making nickels and dimes, or they're losing nickels and dimes. You don't hear about those on Facebook, but yeah, so it's all about what you want. So at the pawn shop and found myself a Daisy 856. We got armadillos. Yes, they look cute on Facebook, but in real life they're really destructive little varmints that tear up everything they come. They'll destroy a lawn, they'll destroy a shed. They breed like rabbits. I always wondered what rabbits breed like. So this video is just more of a beginner's guide to car flipping. I haven't got it all figured out. Nobody really does. The market keeps changing. But there's guys out there that have a really good handle on it. If I was doing it for a living, it would be a different story. But the fact of the matter is, like I said, you have to buy the cars right. You can't buy a car and think you're going to make money on it. It just doesn't work that way. I went through that. Guys I know went through that. And then I actually started getting some really good sage-like advice from people like John Ross or Rob Pitts or those other YouTubers that do this. And I put them all together and I'm like, you know, these guys have been doing it and they're doing it and they make a good living doing it. So why wouldn't you want their advice, even if you like it or you don't like it? You're not out there screwing anybody. You let the seller dictate his price, and you played on that, and you had a good idea what you wanted to do with the car. Truthfully, I plan on doing a video here about used parts, because when we get done with that car, I am going to have to put a little more money into it than I want. but it's still within budget. I put a $1,000 budget on that Crown Vic. I'm up to about maybe somewhere just shy of 500 bucks in it right now. So I got about 900 bucks altogether in that car. I'm gonna have to put tires on it. If I can find a good used set for $250, we're gonna do that. And then I am gonna have to put brakes on the front, and that's brakes and rotors. That's gonna probably be altogether another 150 bucks. So we'll be within the $1,000 budget. 15 all the way in is my goal. And then I'm going to look at the market and decide what the price point on that car is going to be. So still got a few little bugs to look at. I did fix the brake lights this morning off camera because, well, I wanted to drive the car and the brake lights weren't working. Kind of need that. So I am going to do a video on used parts and kind of how I made it through all this. Junkyards are your friend, but it's important to have a good idea what you're looking for when you go there. But that's another story for another day. I just wanted to make this video to let you guys know that this is not something casual. This is not easy. The guys that have been doing this for a long time, they know what they're doing, and they've been doing it long enough, and they're familiar enough with the cars that they're playing with that they know what the problems are. TV makes this look easy. YouTube makes this look easy. This is not easy. What comes to mind is Storage Wars. What a stupid show. We had guys that used to make a living here in town buying storage units, and because of shows like that, these guys who actually depended on that to make their living were damn near put out of business just because people got an idea that it was easy money. It's not easy money. There's no such thing as easy money. You got to work for it. Easy money, if you get easy money, it goes just as fast as you got it. And chances are, it goes with a cost. There's a high cost to it. So, just food for thought. So I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Just a quick little video about car flipping. Hopefully it's informative, and hopefully it doesn't discourage anybody from car flipping, but I hope it gives you an idea and maybe a baseline to start doing it if you want to do it. You watch a lot of guys doing it now, and they make it look easy. You can't start flipping a $100,000 car. You start by flipping a $100 car, a $200 car, a $500 car, in this market a $1,000 car. You may only make 150, 200 bucks on the car, but you made 150 to 200 bucks on the car. And you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. It's a lot of work, but it's rewarding work if you put your time and energy into it. So, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Y'all be successful out there, and we'll see you next video.